Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Nora Bird, and I am leading and I will start with opening words. From the Buddhist activist and teacher, Joanna Macy. You know your lives are as intricately interwoven as nerve cells in the mind of a great being. Out of that vast net you cannot fall. No stupidity or failure or cowardice can ever sever you from that living web. For that is what you are. Rest in that knowing. Rest in the great peace. Out of it we can act, we can dare anything, and let every encounter be a homecoming to our true nature. In the spirit of wonder, let us worship together. Welcome to worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greensboro. As I said before, my name is Nora Bird, and I am a member of this congregation. Unitarian Universalists believe that each person has a trustworthy relationship with the Spirit, with the Holy, with the source of all life, with what some call God, though we name it and know it differently from each other. And we believe that because we are interconnected, nobody is free until we all are free. So we strive to build beloved community here on earth, in our fellowship with one another, and in our work for justice. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, and all loved. Our ministry team here at UUCG is Cindy Dillard, our Director of Children's and Youth Ministry, Julie Hamilton, our Congregational Administrator, and our Minister, Reverend Sadie Lansdale. We're thrilled to welcome our guest musicians, Carol Webb on guitar, and Brian Blau, who will be playing the flute later. Okay, quiz time. Should you have your cell phone on during church, making noise?
No.
And I'll have to check mine as soon as I get back to my chair. Should you take your mask off? Unless you're up here. If you have a joy or sorrow to share in our prayers of the people, you can write it on the yellow card in your order of service and hold it up during our opening hymn for our ushers to collect. You can also light a candle of remembrance at any time during the music in the service. If you're online and you'd like to get more connected, you can click the link in the description of this YouTube video and let us know how we can connect with you. If you're in person, you can fill out a pink salmon form at the visitors table, visit our website for our contact form, or simply stick around after worship for our post-worship reflection. If you're joining us online, go ahead and say hello in the chat. If you're joining us in the sanctuary, won't you wave hello to everyone joining us online, and say hello to your neighbors in the pews.
Good morning. My name is Bill Johnson, and I am a member of this congregation. Alexis Webb will light our chalice. Please join me in our chalice lighting words found in your order of service. We light this chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, to remind us to connect in spirituality and service, to care for each other and the world, and to create loving community. A covenant contains the promises we make to one another in response to the great gift of living, holding ourselves to these holy aspirations. Will you join me in our church covenant? We, the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greensboro, do covenant to promote a search for personal meaning, respecting the individual truth in a community process of quest. Speak and act with caring, courtesy, and love, thereby maintaining emotional, physical, and spiritual safety for all. Support UUCG and denominational efforts with our resources. Combat injustice while promoting equality. Nurture our children on their spiritual journey. Hold ourselves to this covenant, especially during times of conflict and disagreement. During our opening music, ushers will come forward to collect your yellow cards. Will you rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, number 1064 in the teal hymnal, Blue Boat Home.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with thy ship's companions, all we kindred spirit souls, making our way down the light of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, breathe the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor song. I was born among the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. How beautiful it is to be together. We gather in gratitude this morning, turning our hearts to thanks and praise for the gift of living. In the presence of the Spirit that animates all life, and in the knowledge that we are powerfully, profoundly connected to all that is, all that has been, and all that will be. Thich Nhat Hanh writes, mindfulness helps us stop the destruction and come back to our breathing. Paying attention only to the in-breath and out-breath, we stop our thinking, and within just a few seconds, we awaken to the fact that we are alive. We are breathing in, we are here, we exist, we are not non-existent. Ah, we realize, I am here, alive. During these few minutes of silence, focus on your breathing and your connection to the existent. Will you find a comfortable space in your seat and take a few easy breaths as we settle into our shared silence together? We have two joys and sorrows to share today. Kate Katahdin writes, "My estranged college-age son, Arthur, says he wants to talk. I heard his voice first time in over a year." Marie Hauk writes about our fellow congregant, Becca Allison. Our thoughts are with Becca Allison, who is in the hospital recovering from a stroke after her beloved husband, Mac, had a heart attack. And we hold them both in our hearts as I invite you to offer the names of those people on your hearts, living or dead, near or far, that this community might hold them in prayer and in love. You can type them in the comments if you're joining us online, or speak them now. Within the interconnected web, we live and breathe. Thich Nhat Hanh writes again, "Thanks to our mindful breathing, we set ourselves free. We are free to be here, free from thinking, anxiety, fear, and striving. When we are free, we can answer the call of the earth with these words: I'm here, I'm a child of yours. We recognize that we are part of the wonder, and we can say, I'm free, free from everything that is preventing me from being fully alive, and you can count on me." We ask these things for ourselves, for those we love, and for those we do not love. Amen.
In our singing meditation, we sing the things we often cannot say, our prayers and our yearnings, our heartbreak and our hope. Please stay seated and sing from your heart number 1003 in your teal hymnal. We're going to sing each of the first 3 lines twice. We're going to do the whole thing twice, and Nora and I will lead. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery.
This is a story that I've adapted slightly, called A Garden is Born, part of the Riddle and Mystery curriculum from the Tapestry of Faith by Richard S. Kimball. This is a participatory reading, so when I ask you a question, you have to answer it, okay? Where previously there had been nothing, now there was something. Within a black hole, a singularity developed.
What's a singularity? It's an area in a black hole where the density is so great, the pressure squeezes bits of finite matter into a piece of infinite matter.
Do you understand that? No. I don't. It's a riddle and a mystery.
But some mathematicians support this theory of how the universe began. They call the birth of the universe the Big Bang, but there wasn't really a bang because it didn't happen instantaneously. The singularity began to cool off, and as that happened, it expanded to become the entire universe we know today. It's still cooling, expanding, and changing as we speak. Today, it's 156 billion light years wide.
Can you imagine how big that is? No. I can't either. It's a riddle and a mystery.
Cosmogony, the study of origins of the universe, says this appears to be true.
Atoms become molecules. Molecules of different elements clustered together to form galaxies. Gaseous clouds of molecules formed into suns. Other gases became rock particles. Bunches of rock particles collided and stuck together and became the Earth. Earth has a non-living atmosphere of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Somehow these elements managed to form themselves into creatures. Planetary processes brought these elements together to form amino acids and nucleic acids, the building blocks of life, and they created single-celled organisms that grow and reproduce.
Do you know how did these non-living elements become your life? No. I don't either. It's a riddle and a mystery.
Many theories exist, but no one knows for sure. Riddle and mystery. Yet we know that those single-celled organisms, like bacteria, changed over time. Changes in a living organism over time is called evolution. As organisms evolved, they became more complex. Single-celled creatures, probably living in the sea, evolved into life forms with trillions of cells, which live now in the sea, in the air, and on land.
Life became more plentiful. The barren rock became a garden. Since all life has a common ancestor, all life is linked. Since all life has requirements to stay healthy and alive, we have a responsibility. It isn't just that my survival might depend on your survival. My survival depends on the survival of trees and plants that create oxygen and the survival of particular bacteria which live in my intestines.
Do you think it is crazy to imagine that our survival is connected to the survival of a polar bear or the rainforest ecosystem in South America?
Yes.
I do too. All life is connected and dependent upon other life forms. It's a riddle and a mystery. Life is riddled, it's mysterious, and it's beautiful. We'll now hear a song called The Gentle Arms of Eden by Dave Carter and Tracy Grammer. The words are in your order of service. You can follow along, you can sing along, you can dance along. I might be dancing here.
On a sleepy, endless ocean, when the world lay in a dream, there was rhythm in the splash and roll, but not a voice to sing. So the moon fell on the breakers, and the morning warmed the waves, till a single cell did jump and hum for joy, as though to say, "This is my home, this is my only home, this is the only sacred ground that I've ever known. Should I stray in the dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden." Then the day shone bright and round her, till the one turned into two, and the two into 10,000 things, and old things into new. And on some virgin beachhead one lonesome critter crawled, and he looked about and shouted out in his most astonished drawl, "This is my home, this is my only home, this is the only sacred ground I've ever known. Should I stray in the dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden." Was carpet green, and the weary children of the woods were dancing in between, and the people sang rejoicing when the fields were glad with grain, this song of celebration from their cities on the plain. This is my home, this is my only home, this is the only sacred ground I've ever known. Should I stray in the dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Now there's smoke across the harbor, and there's factories on the shore, and the world is ill with greed and will and enterprise of war. But I will lay my burdens in the cradle of your grace, and the shining beaches of your love, and the sea of your embrace. This is my home, this is my only home, this is the only sacred ground I've ever known. Should I stray in the dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden.
Our children are invited to go to with their teachers to their classes. Everyone can join me in Go in Peace, Go in Love, Go in Joy. Let's sing them out. Go in peace, go in peace, go in peace, amen, amen. Go in love, go in love, go in love, amen, amen. Go in joy, go in joy, go in joy, amen, amen.
It starts with a riddle, something that twists our minds. Maybe you know some riddles. They seem to be more the province of childhood than adulthood, but maybe you remember. What's black and white and red all over? A newspaper, right. Or another one. If you've got me, you want to share me. If you share me, you haven't kept me. What am I? A secret. Oh, only a few people know that one. Maybe you remembered the answers because you have heard them before, or maybe you figured it out before the big reveal. Either way, there is an answer. We are sure of it, and when we hear it, we relax. Oh good, someone knows the answer. Or maybe you like murder mysteries. True crime is the fastest growing segment of publishing, and there are dozens of television shows. Who did it? We want to know. A friend of mine took a whole class on wives who poisoned their husbands. Maybe we just want to know how they do it. Knowing how gives us the power to avoid being a victim, or maybe the power to be the perpetrator. I don't know about that. Or maybe you like scavenger hunts or locked room experiences, riddles and mysteries. In detective fiction, Miss Marple or Hercule Poirot or Hieronymus Bosch or some other godlike detective is the deus ex machina, the deity who figures out the clues, the web of connections and relationships that lead to the killer. Someone figures it out. Somebody can help us relax into that knowledge. A.J. Jacobs wrote in a new book called The Puzzler that puzzles can shift our worldview. They can nudge us to adopt the puzzle mindset, a mindset of ceaseless curiosity about everything in the world, from policy to science to human relationships, and a desire to find solutions. And our UU faith calls us to have that way of thinking. We are not asked to have faith in a particular set of answers. We are asked to adhere to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And we bring that to bear on the problem of today's sermon, climate change, and thinking about our role in the UU principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. If we don't have a deity or a set dogma as a source of answers, then there is a large middle, where figuring out the riddle or the mystery is work. And more importantly, for those trapped in a murder mystery, there is often fear and vulnerability. Who is the perpetrator? Who might be next? How will I survive? How will my family? How will my community recover from this violation? The beginnings of the universe and the earth, and maybe the end of the earth, is that sort of mystery. The collective we think we know how it came to be, but that story that we tell ourselves is constantly evolving. The Earth is at the center of the universe. Well, our little universe, the solar system, well, no, we're not at the center, the sun is. The Earth was constructed by a god, whatever that may be, but wait, it didn't take a week, it was millions of years. And what manner of creature had those huge bones that we find when we dig deep in the earth? Why aren't they here anymore? More importantly, look at how similar but different living organisms are from each other. Why? Well, of course, it's evolution, we know that. And what is the mechanism for that? DNA. Every living organism has it. Look how many variations can be made from it. It is everywhere, from one-celled organisms at the beginning of life on Earth to us. And aren't we the top of the food chain? But look how similar those primates are to us. It's a riddle and a mystery, all right. And the story we heard today is one of the stories that we tell ourselves. It was based on the story puzzled out by science and is subject to change as we study and learn more and look further into the universe. Is anybody else obsessing over the Webb telescope images? Climate change is an unfolding and an evolution too. It is as real as a murder mystery. How did we get here? What will be the outcome? And it is fear-inspiring. Margaret Klein Salomon writes, "The climate emergency hurts because we love this world. We love our families, humanity, and the web of life. So how do we respond? Take action so that we can answer the call of the earth." How have I done it in my own life? Earth Day has been celebrated since 1970. In Vermont, where I grew up, it was called Green Up Day. I began my lifelong environmental awareness that first year picking up trash on the side of the road. Everything was pretty green in Vermont, and carelessness by people who didn't seem to think that the earth wasn't a trash receptacle was kind of galling. I grew up, I studied botany and environmental science, and worked for the Department of Environmental Management in Massachusetts, and then in 1980, Ronald Reagan was elected president. Momentum toward making long-lasting policy changes came to a standstill. The EPA was devastated. I changed careers. I became a librarian. On that first Earth Day, Gaia, the goddess who rocks us in the gentle arms of Eden, was already ill. There had been black skies in London and rivers on fire and clear-cut forests, but we did make changes. Some of those were individual, like picking up trash on the side of the road, but some were collective. The hippies who tried to establish a different way of living were part of that. The Back to the Land movement. And my family had been part of it too. They had moved to a farm in Vermont in 1960 and grew vegetables using biodynamic farming, which is kind of a precursor of organic farming. They raised chickens, cows, and pigs that fed a family of 9. But it wasn't utopia. There was no central heating, and the spring-fed water system sometimes dried up in the summer heat. And, well, we were part of the Back to the Land movement, but we were also outside it. We sometimes howled with laughter at the escapees from New York, who in the balmy days of July constructed teepees that mimicked indigenous people's designs and left when the snow was 3 feet deep and the wood for the fires ran out. 50 plus years of Earth Day, and where are we? Oh, we have done some things. Sometimes Los Angeles has clean air, but does Houston in every part of it, especially near the oil refineries, or parts of Greensboro near the trash incinerator? We are on that blue boat but I am afraid that it is the Titanic. We have hit an iceberg that we shoulda, coulda, woulda seen if we had been paying attention. But we have allowed ourselves to be more afraid of small things and missed it. We were more afraid of car accidents, so allowed our cars to get larger and more gas guzzling than ever before. We were more afraid of spending reasonable amounts of money for food, so we allowed ourselves to be fooled by conglomerates owning factory farms. We wanted cheap goods, so we allowed manufacturing to move overseas to skirt environmental regulations and, by the way, export our environmental issues, and then move that stuff in giant containers right back to us. It's a global economy, and it's global madness. We built a boat that was based on hubris and greed, just like the Titanic. We engineered structures, political alliances, global food chains, global economy that are unsustainable and vulnerable and may or probably will fall to pieces. We are in the middle of an ongoing, irreversible change, and many of us are afraid. The billionaires are going to launch their life rafts, and we will be on the lower decks trying to figure out a way forward. Oh yes, we have predictions, and they are dire. This past April, a heat wave in South Asia brought temperatures of 115 degrees Fahrenheit to India and 120 degrees in Pakistan. Birds fell from the sky. It was so hot. Of course, it was 110 in Portland yesterday, from what I heard on the news this morning. And in 364 years of keeping records in Britain, they recorded their hottest temperature ever this summer. 364 years they have been keeping records. We have detectives working on the mystery, but there is new information every minute, and we don't know what the answers are because they are a moving target. I do know the answer is not in a single 12-year-old girl picking up trash on the roadside. Instead, it takes collective action. It takes changing the boat while we are on it, opening up the decks to the steerage passengers because everyone is in this together and we are all going down, every last one of us, if we don't cooperate. We are the deus in machina. We are not outside looking in, we are on the inside. We are the cause. Our political structures, immigration policies, our consumption habits, our need to own everything individually rather than collectively. I believe that there is a possibility for repair. During the pandemic, my stepson Patrick wrote a letter to his son Samuel trying to capture the essence of that time period. He begins the letter with, "The dolphins and swans came back." Environmental repair is possible because change is constant. I look to spaces like the High Line in New York City, that elevated train track which was abandoned for decades, so long that nature reclaimed it. Or the demilitarized zone in Korea, an oasis for wildlife, or our own national parks and others. And I look to population-based DNA changes. When soot covered the skies in London, moths changed their pigmentation to be darker so they would be camouflaged from predators. There is evidence that DNA-driven adaptation is happening in creatures all over the world. In other words, creatures have unexpressed genes that can yield responses to environmental change. Evolutionary adaptation is possible, and it can happen in a few generations, but it will be different. Species will be lost. The creatures of the earth will change, and we will change. And our UU faith calls us to lean into that change. Without dogma, we are free. We can answer the call of the earth. The earth can count on us, as Thich Nhat Hanh said. I don't have a prescriptive list of ways to save the earth. What I am saying today is about our spiritual connection to our home, our only home, the only sacred ground that we have ever known. We Unitarian Universalists uphold the principle of the interdependent web. Let us reach out to that, embrace it, and become a part of the answer to the mystery, to the riddle that surrounds us. Rock us, Goddess, dear Gaia, in the gentle arms of Eden.
Wow. All right. Please read responsively with me number 530 in your gray hymnal, Out of the Stars. All right. Out of the stars in their flight, out of the dust of eternity, here we have come. Stardust and sunlight mingling through our time and through space. Out of the stars we have come, up from time. Out of the stars we have come. Time out of time before time, in the vastness of space. Earth spun to orbit the sun. Earth with the thunder of mountains newborn, the boiling of seas. Earth warmed by sun, lit by sunlight. This is our home. Out of the stars we come. Mystery hidden in mystery, back through all time. Mystery rising from rocks in the storm in the sea. Out of the stars, rising from rocks and sea, kindled by the sunlight on earth, arose life. Ponder this thing in your heart. Ponder with awe. Out of the sea to the land, out of the shallows came ferns. Out of the sea to the light, to the land, up from darkness to light, rising to walk and fly. Out of the sea trembled life. Ponder this thing in your heart. Life up from sea. Eyes to behold, throats to sing, mates to love. Life from the sea, warmed by the sun, washed by rain. Life from within, giving birth, rose to love. This is the wonder of time. This is the marvel of space. Out of the stars swung the earth. Life upon earth rose to love. This is the marvel of life, rising to see and know. Out of your heart cry wonder, sing that we live. Thank you. All right. One of the ways that we live out our mission to create loving community is to contribute financially to the ministries of this congregation and to the good work of our community partners. Our offering today goes to Triad Abolition Project for the legal expenses of Miss Yvette Boulware, a 62-year-old community elder and mentor who was unjustly arrested while conducting court watch for 2 community members in Forsyth County. She is a lifelong activist who worked alongside the late Congressman John Lewis. On May 17, 2022, she was tackled over an exchange that began about sunglasses on her head, and she was charged with a felony assault with a deadly weapon for the ballpoint pen that she had, and a misdemeanor resisting a public officer. She faces more than 4 years in prison for these charges. If you'd like to make a contribution for our offering to be split with Triad Abolition Project, you can do so at the link in the description of this video. You can also mail a check. Ushers will come forward to collect the offering, which will now be gratefully received.
And we're all going to kind of wing the offertory hymn together, okay? From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. Together we share, and from this we live.
Will you join me in our chalice extinguishing words? We extinguish this flame, but not the true truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
We have several announcements today. During our postlude, youth and teachers can go to RE in the classrooms. Anyone who needs to or wishes to leave may go with our blessing. We will have a formal reflection after the sermon today. Anyone who wants to join me in this room with a cup of coffee is welcome to do that. We are still trying to fill Sadie's cup. There are materials out on the table if you'd like to leave a message to how Sadie has been helpful to you during the last year or so. We have a recital coming up. Brian Blauk, who you just heard on the flute, but also plays a multitude of instruments, will be giving a recital on August 13th at 7:30. Please come and join Brian for that wonderful performance. And I think I forgot something. Potluck is coming up. Right after the service. So if you don't want to talk and you want to eat, go to the potluck or get something to eat, and then we'll talk. And anything else? Okay. Let's see. I'm missing a page. When you wake up and see that the earth is not just the environment, the earth is us, you touch the nature of interbeing. And at that moment, you have real communication with the earth. You become a part of the interconnected web of all existence. Amen.
You can place your hands over your hearts as we sing our benediction hymn, Shalom Havarim, number 400, in your gray hymnal. This is a Hebrew song that means, peace, dear friends, until we meet again. Shalom, Havarim, Shalom, Havarim, Shalom, Shalom. Lahi Trayot, Shalom, Shalom. Shalom, Havarim, Shalom, Havarim, Shalom, Shalom. Lahi Trayot, Shalom, Shalom. Beautiful.
Who brought the flowers? Those are lovely.
She said she got them on her way here. Dang. Thank you for
I should be, and if you don't schedule, until choir starts up again. On one side, the other side. If they just have one bed, you have to make that. Yeah, I think we'll hear something. At least 2 weeks, more likely. That's my guess. All that way. I will.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Where are you sitting? I'm sitting here, my husband's Okay? I'm not sure if we're staying. Rick couldn't sleep last night. So I may not be staying, but right now he's in a discussion I don't want to interrupt. Do you know anybody with macular degeneration? It's pretty common. And yeah, mostly. It started for Rick when he was just in his when he was about 65. And I've always been surprised that there's no kind of support groups or anything for macular degeneration. And it's kind of an isolating thing in a way. Well, for people like most of the people we know who love to read and talk about books and stuff, well, you can still talk about books, but reading them is a lot more difficult.
But you can always get audio books.
You can, but audiobooks take a lot longer, and some people don't. I don't retain information as well.
And have you connected, the state library has a library for the, not just for blind, but visually impaired.
I have not yet.
Yes.
I'm trying to encourage Rick to do some of this outreach stuff himself. Because it is. And his hobbies have always included doing little bitty fine work. Really tiny stuff. And he needs to find some new interests. I mean, I know he's never going to become a sports fan. That's fine with him. But there are other things. And
Legos are big. You could become a Lego professional.
He could too. Now that they have little motors and stuff, he can build us a great city. But we were both so freaked out when he first was diagnosed.
You can move those circles.
Yes, I think you're going to have some people.
This is a pretty popular.
I think that might be Bill. Bill Johnson.
Okay, I'll move Bill just around here.
What chair?
It was down there somewhere.
Just make it bigger. There's always Nora, we are here for your words of wisdom.
I have no words of wisdom.
I have to say, halfway through your sermon, I was saying, this isn't very uplifting. But then you did bring us back up. Thank
Except I did
you.
see this sign that I'm going to make a copy of and put on my front door that says, you never go past here. You start thinking this is the whole
Like what?
Sometimes
Oh, I didn't know that.
But it's focused on human beings being responsible for a lot of what.
and the way our house is so
Nostalgia is simply,
I would like to have a glass.
it's taken from the word nostalgia.
And there's no solar, just to see outside. And you can see outside throughout our house, except for
So, everybody, I just want to gather everybody.
I just sort of scooted in here, Bill.
It's a little hard to hear.